had a little Discord with my bro. He tweeted saying that Zinedine Zidane is the greatest footballer of all time. Said it with chest. Yeah. So obviously I questioned this narrative. And when you're dealing with Av, it's like he thinks on a different stratosphere. So he said, I never said the best. I said the greatest. So what he did is he created a new narrative that suited his argument, which made it more difficult for me to push against. But just on that, bro, just on that.
The thing is, if it was just about being the best, then the footballers that we know growing up who made it would be different. The best footballers I knew growing up, some of them just never even touched professional football. So if we're talking about the best footballers of all time, I'm going to say Messi or R9. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Greatest footballer of all time is Zinedine Zidane, I'm sorry.
Alright, bro, so let me ask you this so now. Do you think you're the best rapper? Actually, have you ever, I think you have said you're the best, right?
Yeah.
So then going by those metrics, what do you define the best as then for you?
Technical ability, what you can do with words. What can you do with words, you know what I mean? What you can do. You know what I mean? You know, when I have these conversations, I never refer to OGs, you know what I mean? I can't be better than the OGs. I can't be greater than you can't, because without them, maybe you don't even exist, bro. Maybe you don't even have the self-belief to make you that good. You know what I mean? Maybe it takes Gets, GH, Wretch 32, boom boom, to go to do what they're doing, and then you're seeing, raw man from where I'm from, he's down the road, he's putting his mind to this and he's be able, I mean, maybe that is enough of a battery in your back for you to go and pursue a life that you would have never pursued without them. So
if you're a generation of your era.
Yeah, I can never be better than the OGs.
But when did you know that you're the best?
I knew I was the best when I started listening to other people.
So you looked at what's going on?
Yeah, I started listening to other. But you know what? I think the point I'm at now is it doesn't really matter. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It matters not so much, because it's like, that's where we get to God Save the Streets, because it's like, okay, that's fine. What are you using your talents to? What are you putting it towards? What is it? What does it mean? You know what I mean? Like, are you just, I got the best bars? That's not a legacy. That's not. It needs to be more. It needs to be more. Like, what are you contributing to whatever the overall plan or idea of the creator is for all of humans? You know what I mean?
I was wondering, I was thinking that how you think, that mindset doesn't really fit in the school system in general terms. So I'm just wondering.
That doesn't fit in school now at all.
So what were you like in school, and how have you maintained it into manhood?
So in school, what I was calm, good vibe, troublemaking, whatever. You know, probably one of the most sent out students you'd see out of the class, just because, I don't know, you think, like, you look at a student getting sent out all the time and it's like, oh, he's disruptive, he's this, he's that, but more time he's just not interested. Do you get what I'm trying to say? In what's being taught. Because, and then what will happen is they'll talk about you got, or attention deficit, and attention deficit, I'm like, well, how comes I don't have that when I'm playing FIFA or playing GTA or watching football or listening to music or... Great point. Like, how comes? Because if I've got...
Should be across the board and everything.
Yeah, if I've got, I don't know, give me a condition or something, whatever, if I've got, I don't know, Parkinson's, I don't have, my Parkinson's won't disappear for when I've got, when it's time to watch football, boom, boom, boom. Do you get me? So actually what you're saying is, you're not interested in much of these, you know what I mean? Because I remember in English, it was like year 10, I remember there was a poem by a man, Alfred Tennyson, called The Eagle. And I heard it, I was like, ooh, okay, you get me. And I started just preying what was going on in English. I'm like, Jay-Z, and then man, there's Cold as these poems. You know what I mean? I started becoming interested in what was happening in that classroom. And then all of a sudden I got A's in that topic. Let's not talk about the rest of my grades, horrific. Don't give a shit, didn't give a shit then. Fuck all of that, you know what I mean? I think a big problem with school is, like when I'm saying fuck all of that, I don't mean fuck school in general and education. Education is the most important thing. Education is a lifetime job. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Man for educate and learn and grow and develop for the rest of your life. My problem with this whole school thing is it doesn't encourage the most important quality when it comes to, you know, achieving things, whatever those achievements might be, which is like being like definite. I definitely, you know what I mean? Having a target. It doesn't promote that, because the reason why I say that is because there's 12 subjects that I'm doing. You know what I mean? There should be the essentials, English, math, boom, boom, to navigate through the world, the language, boom, boom, boom. But then I'm doing bare subjects until 16, 17, that I'm no interest in. So I'm just wasting time. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I'm wasting time, bro. Give me shit that I'm interested in, and then you see how I engage with it. But you're giving me all these other subjects, and then now I got attention deficit disorder, but I don't, because when you give me headphones and a mic, I'm focused. You know what I mean?
At a level that most normal people can't even focus to.
Do you get me? So, in that sense, fuck school. But in the sense of, I want to pursue law. You go to school, do the, you know what I mean? I want to be a doctor. Go to school, I want to You get me? In that sense, school's unbelievable, great, incredible, bro. It's one of the blessings, you know what I mean, of being, you know, bro, get free education to a certain age, bro, make the fucking most of it. It's just, you just got that other side of it, which is like, which I suppose is life, bro. Everything, there's pros and cons to everything. Those are the cons, but the pros is that, you know what I mean?
When school finishes, so what's next then? Because that timeline is it. Well, when does music start? What age does music really start for you then?
In school. So it's when music started, aside other things, that's when man's attendance to classes just starts dropping. I'm not even sent out again enough times for being disruptive. I'm just missing because we got a studio joint that they've made in the school, so I'm missing enough times at certain classes because I'm in there. So let's say 15, and it just goes overdrive when my old man passes away. You know what I mean? Overdrive, as in just like making bars. You get me? Making a lot of bars.
So is that, I won't say the therapy, is that just how you just part of the process, coping mechanisms or whatever?
Yeah, I suppose. At the time, you're not thinking about, I don't know what the fuck a coping mechanism is at that age. You know what I mean? But looking back, I would say 100% because it's almost tapped. Chest of drawers and boom, boom, sheets of paper everywhere. This is when I used to write. You know what I mean? As a kid, when I used to, what? It's almost like you look at the amount of bars and like, people might talk about, yeah, his wordplay is this and that. That takes 25 million gazillion bars. You know what I mean? The art of 10,000 hours is not so popular again. But how do you get to excellent without it?
How does, and obviously it's always evolving.
Yes.
But when you came into the business, and I remember because I was speaking to G, and I know like you guys tried to have the best situation for you when you went over to the other label. Mm-hmm. But how did you how did you understand what your position was within the music industry when your mind thinks out of the box? That's the part where I'm actually trying to think, like, how does your mind fit into that system of how it operates?
It doesn't, because it doesn't really acknowledge it so much because you're so zoned into the creative and making things that you kind of are aware of it, but your focus is just making things. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
What makes you aware of it then?
Bro, you're going to a label, there's money that you ain't seen before, and they're about to pay you, and like, you know what I mean? That you haven't been prepared for. Another dig at school, and they never taught me nothing about money, and I'm learning.
Financial literacy.
Yeah, I'm learning. We're learning the hard way. It's like we you know, we're getting money, but we ain't rich in our. You know what I mean? We ain't rich in the way we see ourselves. So, you know, the decisions we make are decisions of, you know, poverty, let's say. It's like when I don't know what the stats are, but I'm pretty sure the statistics of people that win the lottery and go back to square one is very high. It's because they was never rich in the first place. You got to be rich here. You know what I mean? It's like you get all this money and you get like imposter syndrome just sends you back to square one. But so yeah, I think that made me aware, like, Russ, stuff I ain't seen. You get me, like, yo, like, You know, you got a certain P, you boom, boom. You know what I mean? Things are sorted out for you. It's just there's this whole machine working for you, and it's like, yeah.
Do you think it makes? Does it make? This is gonna be the wrong language. Does it baby you a bit? Because it's like it's almost like rubbing a lamp. Almost anything you want to an extent. You just have to ask, and someone's gonna try and sort it out. Someone's gonna try and figure it out for you.
I think that's a good question, but I think it would baby you more if you didn't fucking earn it, G. Yeah. Do you get what I'm trying to say? If you didn't like give everything to, you know, pursue the life and career you wanted to pursue. You know what I mean? If you didn't, then maybe it'd baby you more. Like if you get me? If you just fell into it. But for me personally, it's like, that wasn't like, oh, I just started music and all of a sudden I'm boom, 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 and everything's just going a certain way. It wasn't. It's never that. So for that reason, I don't believe it babied me. You get me? I believe in learning. Like I really believe in it. Like I don't let nothing go past that might not have went to plan without it benefiting me. You get me? Because everything can benefit you. Everything can benefit you. You might be watching this saying, what's he talking about? Everything can benefit you. I'm sorry. That's just a philosophy that man go by. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't even call it, I go as far as saying, even more than a philosophy, I go as far as saying it's a law of nature, blood. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, it doesn't give you the sweet without the bitter. It doesn't give you the high without the low. And all it depends on is how you look at it. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Yeah, that's it, bro. So, you get me? So, yeah, I think I wouldn't say it baby man personally because, you know, yeah, G, I wouldn't say that personally.
I'm going to skate back. So, what I was interested in, I said to you, I like the fact you said this is an album. Yeah, 100%. Still on it, it's an album. Artists in general get a bit, I don't want to call it an album. I understand it, whether I agree is irrespective. Did you know when did you consciously make the decision that I'm actually going into album mode? And then the decisions to go to America, and like, so walk me through that then.
I was at the Enemies, you get me? And it's kind of like, I was doing an interview, 1, 2 Juice, so yeah, I mean, boom, 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 boom. You get me? And then boom, what's it called? I've gone in an interview, I'm working on the greatest British rap debut album of all time. You know what I mean? These times, I ain't even started. But yeah, you put it out there, so it's like, you kind of burn the ships, you get what I'm trying to say? I don't know who it was, but there's a story where the warrior and his troops go to like a different land or whatever, and they get there on ships, and it's mad, it's war, it's beef. And then what he does is he burns the ships, and what that did was, it meant it's win or die. You get what I mean? You know what I mean? And I think them kind of things are like sly metaphors that you can compare to burning the ships, because what those type of actions do, it can keep your mind focused on making that thing happen because you've burnt some type of ship. You know what I mean? So me going out there going, boom, boom, great. It's like, okay. You know what I mean? Yo, let's do this thing then, because you said it. You know what I mean? But and as well, that's where the work starts, in what you think and feel and say. It starts here, bro. Like, you hear a song, the song's in man's head first. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You watch the show, that's like stage 3, 4, 5. You think of you think of the producer, you meet with the producer, you create the thing, and then there's a song, and then there's a show. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that's when it started. I can't remember what year it was, but it was around that time I was like, that's my intention. And at the time, you might not know how it's gonna materialize. You usually won't know how you never will know. You might have an idea, but, you know, when we make plans, God laughs, innit? So I think around that period is when I had that intention, and then from there, you looking back, everything makes sense. Like, yeah, that happened, and you met that person. You know what I mean? Looking back, everything, it also makes sense. Exactly. So you get me. So I think around that time, I'm not sure what year it was. It may have been 2019 or something, or 2020. I don't know.
So then then we go into lockdown.
Yeah, before lockdown.
Yeah, so, but then going into lockdown, does that change any like the direction of travel you're thinking of, or?
No, because Quincy Jones said, your music can never be any more or less than you are as a human being. That never left me. That's maybe the most important phrase that I heard. Maybe the most important phrase that stuck with me throughout this whole experience. So maybe subconsciously, maybe a little bit consciously, I couldn't tell you for sure. I'd have to think about it, meditate on it. But boom, the lockdown is just part of the album making process without making an album. Actually, I dropped a mixtape in that time, but that's part of making the album because you look at what you've done, boom, 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 you critique and you you get me? To see how you can improve or boom, boom, boom. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the lockdown advances me as a human. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It fast tracks that advancement in my opinion. Because in all the hecticness and the up and down and boom, boom, boom of the world, you have to stop and, do you get what I'm trying to say? Almost, you're forced to potentially build this sort of more intimate relationship with yourself. Do you get me? Where you have to be with yourself. You know what I mean? You have to be with yourself. You gotta be with yourself and decide and decide, are you gonna be lonely or just alone? You know what I mean? Or just in solitude, you get me? And thankfully, by God's grace, it wasn't a lonely one. My relationship with myself thrived in terms of, you know, like started training. Remember, you see me, I lost mad weight. You get, I'm trying to like 29 kg or something shit. You know what I mean? Like my whole life, I never read books. I talked about AIDS in English. You think I read one book during that whole shit? Fucking hell, books, mental. Do you get what I'm trying to say? One of my managers, Mark, always used to suggest books to me. I'm like, what the fuck you think I'm gonna sit and read that fucking thing when I'm out here trying to get it, bro? Come on, man, I ain't got time for that, brother. Could use it on better things. But man's read the book, and I'm like, fuck. You know what I mean? Past a quarter century, and I've never read a book. I've opened a book, I'm like, fuck, there's all of this in here that, you know what I mean? It's like you want to hide something from the man and just put it in a book. You know what I mean? And so that's developing man's thinking, and man's boom, 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 man. You know what I mean? Man's building a better relationship with myself, so it means I'm building better relations with others around me. You know what I mean? Because, you know, boom, 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 boom. And
so wait, just on the fitness thing, what sparked it? Like, there must have been a catalyst or something that said, yeah, I just got to start.
What was the actual start? That's what I'm saying. It feels like it's all just part of the same thing. You know what I mean? I feel like, yeah, I feel like the enemy is one of them, but you say it, and then subconsciously you just get to work. And those things that I'm talking about, I think it's all part of the work. Because like we say, your music can never be any more or less than you are as a human being. And why that phrase is so key for me and this album is because the album's called God Save the Streets. Do you know what I'm trying to say? That's not just some rapping exhibition of your talent. Listen to how hard this guy is. It can't be about you, bro. The title's more important than you. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So for that reason, who are you and where are you in life to be able to deliver and carry such a heavy phrase, significant phrase? We're in Britain where they sing Rest in Peace, where they're singing God Save the Queen. And now they're going to sing God Save the King. And I'm saying, fuck that, God Save the Streets. The King's fine. You know what I mean? Actually, the King don't give a shit about poor people. He doesn't give a shit about me and you. Do you get what I'm trying to say? He's not interested in us. And guess what happens, and the way life works, you know what I mean? It's not a coincidence that we're not interested in him. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I've got concerns about the environment I grew up in. I look outside and I'm not happy, bro. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I look at our mentality and, you know, the life we submitted ourselves to, in general, for the most part, and I want to do my bit to do something. You get what I'm trying to say? With man's talent. I got a superpower, bro. You know what I mean? And it needs to be put to use. That's what I was talking about earlier when I was like, yeah, talent's one thing, but what is it? You know what I mean? Without all the stuff outside of music, who's Muhammad Ali? He's just a brilliant boxer. You get what I'm trying to say? But then now you can't, you know what I mean, get him off his perch as the greatest boxer of all time, probably, because it's just much more than just throwing his hands. You know what I mean?
Are you ready for that type of holistic embodiment of what you're stepping into now. Like, there's to be more than a rapper, to actually try and be a catalyst of the change that is necessary. Like, that's moving you into realms greater than just like he's like super. It's greater than a Daily Duppy.
Yeah, 100%. Like, fuck the Daily Duppy. It's about what I'm saying in the Daily Duppy. It might be an exhibition, and boom, 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 like it's about, to a certain extent, this shit's all about ego. Yeah, not all. Sorry, to a certain extent, ego plays a huge part. Let me say, in what we do. If it wasn't for man's ego, your shit wouldn't be named Amaru Don TV. You'd remove the name. It's nothing about. I would, you know what I mean? I would have nameless music. You wouldn't even have a name. You'd say, I don't want a name because we're all one thing and boom, boom. You know what I mean? So it's a balancing act. We need it. You get what I mean? But at the end of the day, the bigger picture is the most important image always. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And for me, the bigger picture is my contribution to the whole. And if it's just about me, then it lessens my contribution to the whole. You know what I mean?
That's a key word. Like, that's one thing I use that a lot when I talk to some of my peers. I say, it's not about, there is a competitive nature that we have, but contribution is just like my offering. This is what I'm offering, not the total offering or what everyone is going to be feasting off. But I do interviews, we rap like this is just, it's your contribution to humanity, society. Whoever can take from it, it's there for them.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not trying to minimize or diminish someone else's contribution.
Yeah, so I'm not too interested in the responsibility. Boom, 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 boom. I'm broski. I've got stuff that I believe in, and I've got a gift, and my job is to live that, bro. And I'm gonna live that regardless, bro. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, it is what it is to the end. You know what I mean? I've got man's purpose or purposes, and that's how we're moving through the gears. I'm at this point where I've made all the key transactions that I had to make, the key trades, let me say, that I had to make in order to get to God Save the Streets. Trades including youth for maturity. You know what I mean? Ignorance for smartness or wisdom. You know what I mean? And let's be frank, let's be real. When I'm saying wisdom, I'm not this guy that knows it all. Real wisdom, real smartness is knowing that you don't know shit. The more you know you don't know. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So that's where man had to get to. Because actually, man's wiser now that I know that I don't know as much as I thought I knew. You get me? So all of these processes outside of music are key to me getting to a debut album, because like the great Quincy Jones says, your music can never be any more or less than you are as a human being. Most shared desire, bruv, of every human actually, bruv, to be noticed and feel important. You get what I'm trying to say? So let's not deny that. But the bigger picture is the contribution to the whole, and I ain't gonna waste my skills, so I'm not doing that. I don't give a shit.
I think when I look at like, and obviously Wretch is executive producing, and the actual musicians you've got working on this project, how does that all marry together? Because it's quite, when I say fractured, it's not fractured, I mean it's like, Wretch sits in amazing, but Wretch sits in one space, and then you got other people, and it's like, you brought it all under one roof. I don't know, I'm trying to think. And there probably is other albums which has had a diverse array of hands, but I'm trying to, off memory.
Any great album.
So on a chronological level, how does the pieces fit first? Is it Wretch, executive producing, you know, you're reaching out to amazing other, like how does that all come together?
So the first part, because everything needs to serve the goal. That's why when we're dreaming or I set and goal, it needs to be specific. You know what I mean? Like I said, greatest British rap debut album of all time. That's a big target. You know what I mean? So then you need to get into, what does that even mean? Does that mean the hardest bars? It can't be just that, because that's always going to be subjective. You know what I mean? It needs to mean more. So from that aim, then you get me in the studio and I see the Sex Pistols artwork for God Save the Queen, and I'm like, God Save the Streets. And then a couple of days later, I'm like, oh shit, that's my album title, because that speaks to my heart and my role that I play in the environment that I grew up and my perspective. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And it's trying to almost use that to speak to and for man's people then. So it just means more. You know what I mean? And it's taking Something like God Save the Queen, and now we've got God Save the King, obviously, and saying fuck all of that, bruv. You know what I mean? God save the streets, bruv. The streets need saving. Them man, they don't need saving, bro. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? They don't need shit. Like, bro, we're actually even gonna pay for 100 million quid for, or whatever, for his whatever the fuck you call that shit, coronation or whatever. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's this, you understand? So then you get to that and it's like, okay, it's fulfilling, bro. Like, it's like, yeah, man's using my shit to, then you get the title, but the title serves the greatest British rapper, because it's not about, it's not the best or the hardest, but it's the great. What does it mean to be great? To put your mind to, actually, that's another conversation. People talk about greatness. What does it mean to be great? What is greatness? What does it mean to be great? Greatness is the ability to, it's the recognition of, you know, your sickest, wickedest power, which is the power of your mind, embracing it and putting it to use. Do you get what I'm trying to say? That's it. So, as I continue, then you're like, okay, cool, I got that target, I got that aim. Executive producer. Greatest British rap album of all time. Okay, who do I see as the greatest British rapper of all time? Free to the GOAT. He stepped into an executive role at Def Jam. He's his mind's in a certain way for certain, you know what I mean? Okay, Free to brings it up in combo, and I'm like, 100% Free to execs. And like you say now, it goes back to the aim. Everything should serve the aim. God save the streets. Wretch Free to. You know, like, and then what happens after that? Yeah, me and Wretch sit down, we have a meeting. We sit down, boom, 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 talk about the title, talk about the aims, talk about boom, 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 boom. Wretch says, we get Marvin Herbert to narrate, because essentially we're talking about the same environment from the same perspective in different ways from different generations, boom, 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 and he's in a different field, cool, boom, 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 boom. Then we go and see Fraser T. Smith, we talk about, and then we go back to the title, greatest British rap album of all time. You know what I mean? Even Marvin, in terms of the criminal underworld, what he's been through and seen and done and boom, boom, it doesn't get so much madder than that. So even in that, you don't get any of the man them, you gotta get the, you get what I'm trying to say? Because it serves greatest British, like the, you know what I mean? The biggest and the, Fraser T. Smith. I've gone to his yard, I've gone to his studio, brother, on the windowsill, I think I counted 24 number ones. My gaffer calls him the Kingmaker, you know what I mean? Talking about, okay, other great British rap albums. He's exec on the Stormzy's, he's exec on the Daves, he's the Kanos, he's done the early Adele and Craig David and all these things. And it's like, okay, cool. He's messaged me one time, and I'm like, me and my manager was talking about it. He mentioned him, and I'm like 5 minutes later, right, Fraser just messaged me. Again, just follow the signs, go and see him. That's all. This whole thing, this whole album making process has just been like that. You know what I mean? And we can all get like that in terms of our goals, and it's just the more and more you want something, and the more focused you are on something, the more you pray on something, the more. All it is that these things are always there, but it's just the more intensely we, you know, want these things, the more easily we see all the things that could take us towards there. That's all. You know what I mean? So for example, if I'm not so focused on the great British rap album of all time, I might not have gone, oh, Fraser messaged me 5 minutes ago. That definitely means I need to go and see him. Oh, boom, boom, boom. That definitely means, oh, this means that, okay, cool. You just notice. It's like you buy a car, all of a sudden you see that car everywhere. It's the same process. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I buy into this goal and this vision, anything to do with that goal and that vision, I can just see it now. So it's not as mystical as you might think. Do you get what I'm trying to say? That's the process. So, for example, you want something better than someone else, there might be an opportunity that you see just because you want it better than them. So your antennas are just more tuned into that thing, and he might just miss it.
It just matters. When you say that, it's when people are so tuned out that they actually do miss it.
Yeah,
someone who actually sees it.
They just don't want it enough.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? They're not. It hasn't been buried deep enough into their other mind, the subconscious, whatever you call it. It's just not buried. It's not buried deep enough into that. You get what I'm trying to say? So
it's like in business. It's like, you know, you have your mission statement.
Exactly. Exactly. Everything needs to serve that.
Yeah, it has to serve that. Yeah.
Mission statement. This is business. Mission statement. Greatest British rap album, debut album of all time. Everything's serving that. Because then now, you know, flipping, working with amazing producers, Ray, Rap Riley, all these man. You know what I mean? Kyle, you know what I mean? Brilliant, just brilliant. You get me? And then even referencing the Sex Pistols. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, that's a significant, okay, another word in the mission statement, British. British rap album. A significant group in the story of British working class people, the streets. You know what I mean? Because before we came here, that was the music of the streets. Punk was the music of the streets. The poor people, yeah. They were saying fuck, what I was just talking about, fuck the king and all this thing. I'm saying, fuck all of that. Monarchy bullshit. God save the fucking king, bro. In 2023, what we doing? Do you get what I'm trying to say? And we got food banks. And we got cost of living crisis and boom, 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 boom. God save. No one elected them man there. You just did in 2023, come on, bro. But that aside now, what I'm saying is, you know, everything's serving that soul. The Sex Pistols. You look at the timeline now, we don't have punks today. We don't have the Sex Pistols. We don't have Vivienne Westwood making the clothes. Now we got grime, drill, rap, trap star clothing making, you know what I mean? Cortez, boom, 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 that, the culture, you know what I mean? And that's the same space. We don't have the mosh pits at the Sex Pistols show. You go to a rap festival, a concert or show, and then you see the mosh pits there now. Yeah, that's when you see them, you know what I mean? Or you can draw all these comparisons. And I know I'm not going mad because I sat with Glenn Matlock for Louder, who was in the Sex Pistols. And he's like, yeah. Yeah, he's like, it makes sense. With rapper, you can go online, you can see it. So, and that's a big sort of perspective, a big point of view. And it serves that time, again, greatest British rap album of all time. It's, you know what I mean, culturally meaningful and huge.
But then who, with that being said, how do you decide who gets on it?
On the album?
And actually, let me be controversial. Are there people that you wanted on the album for whatever reason didn't make it? Not to say who they are, but I'm just asking, are there people who you wanted who, for whatever reason, it didn't happen?
Yeah, one person. Definitely one person. And the thing is, but I don't feel like, I wish I got my man on the album because everything has gone exactly as it should have gone, 1,000,000%. You get me? It's just, if you had asked me at a point, my selection, there's one person that I would, you know what I mean?
So then when you're making the music then, or when you're in the studio, so you're in the studio with all the features, everyone who you featured with, or the people sending verses?
No, not everyone. I wasn't in the studio with RA. I wasn't in the studio with Free to the GOAT. And I was in the studio for Free 2 for a word from Wretch Free 2, not the Sin City. I wasn't in the studio. I was in the studio with Tiggs. I wasn't in the studio of Progression. God bless Progression. I can't believe I got a feature from him. Top 3 most talented musicians I've ever met in my life. I mean, everyone else I was in the studio with. I went to see Gets. You know, Gets is hard. And she's cold.
And this is what I'm wondering. Okay, so I guess everything it has its divine purpose in the end. But if you're writing your own script and narrative, I would presume being there physically for each, does that make a difference? Like, or you just like you just do your thing. I trust in what you're doing.
Nah, because you know what, like, especially this is why having a great exec is important, because you know you're going to certain artists because you've discussed what element they're gonna bring to the song. So it's hard to see, like, it's difficult for it to not work. And if it doesn't work, you just don't use it. Yeah. I don't care. There's vocals that we've had from the album for features that we just didn't use. It just didn't work, bro.
How does that go? Because is it you communicating that? Is it G? Is it Wretch? How does it?
In terms of, like, it not working?
It's not going to go on a project.
I think...
You just don't go back to it?
No, like, so to certain artists, it's like, I know you, innit? And if I've reached out to you, it's courtesy to say, yeah, do you know what? It's just not, it's calm, bro. It's like, you know what I mean? That's...
Happens all the time, isn't it? It's not
bro, it should be calm. And if it's not calm, that's a you problem, not me. This is art, bro. I think we're not always gonna get it right. Like, Michael Jackson, they make 100 songs for Thriller, or even more, 800 I think it was. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Do you think he's upset about those other songs? It's just, it didn't work, bro. The fuck? You know what I mean? So, and I think we got to be like that with our work, our life, or whatever. Like, just
Gotta hold it to a standard, isn't it?
hold it to a standard and don't be too attached to things to the point where it hurts you when they're criticized or they're not good enough or they're not, don't. It's fine, bro. It's about just learn something from each one. You know what I mean?
But I was going to ask you, bro. So you see now, yeah, with that phrase you have, yeah, the beautiful thing about it is that nothing was related to outcomes and expectations of sales, views. To me, it's in the purest form. I want to make the greatest of something that stands for something, that resonates for something, that is actually hopefully going to impact change or highlight the conditions that many of us are in. When does it shift, if at all, to, okay, performance? How is it going to be received? What metrics are we going by? Because there's always that in business, but like, for you as the creative, does it still subconsciously kick in after it's done, or are you just like, I just want it out?
Yeah, I think, yeah, you want it to be received and performed. Of course you want all these things, you get me? That's part of, acknowledgement as well of what you've done. Yeah, and that's part of me going, okay, like, I'm in Britain, God save the streets, God save, you know what I mean? Ruben Dango does my artwork, which is a flip of the sex pit, you know what I mean? To penetrate the culture, for the culture to see it.
So Ruben Dango is who?
Ruben Dango is an artist, sick guy, wicked. I think at the Emirates, so you go to the Emirates, so all the art that's on the Emirates, he done that. You know what I mean? Even though it's a Man United team, come on.
I was about to say, so wait, so is that you, or is that someone of your teams, that Wretch? Who seeks out him?
So Ruben, that's my guy. He done my first ever EP, FYO. Okay. That's my guy, and he's just gone on to do amazing things. And we kind of just knew that we had got to circle back to my man, his levels. And an important thing about Ruben, he always, if you look at his Ruben Dango on his social media, he always, art and message is synonymous. So his pictures will always speak some type of message. Something will happen and he'll speak some type of message. He'll redo. It's always about, it's never just a beautiful picture. It's always, he's literally saying something through a picture. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And man's saying something through man's art. And that's my guy from this jump. So you see how the antennas work, where it's like, okay, then you have to use my man. Yeah. It's not really a thought process. You know what I mean? And he's like talking to the country. He's doing big pieces and murals of Marcus Rashford and this and that all around the country. Greatest British rap album of all time. This is a great artist that's speaking to the British public on a national scale. You know what I mean? These artworks around the Emirates. You know what I mean? So it's like, you don't need to think about whether you reach out to him or over. It's not a thought process. It's just that goes in line with what man's doing, and that's my guy because he done my first EP.
Who mixes the project?
David Kim, a man called David Kim from Los Angeles, Korean engineer.
How does that then manifest and come together?
So how that comes together, I'll tell you actually the perfect detail with regards to that. There's a fella I know, talented guy, that's my guy, called Moon Willis, producer. You know what I mean? And he's geek is a great word. Geek just means nerd is just like you're super into something, you get me? We need more nerds in the culture. You know what I mean? So I'm a music nerd. Or, you know what I mean? Even a football nerd, even though people might disagree. You know what I mean? Needs a sound. You get me? That's his thing, sound and boom, 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 boom. So I've decided to, my album's done, or the music's been recorded and all done. I've decided to go and see him to get advice on where I should go for my mixes, because I knew he's a man that would know where to go to get this project mixed. You get me? So I've gone to see him, played him the album. It's obviously showed me love. He's like, yeah, boom, 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 boom. And he's brought up, I think did he slap out a document or something with engineers or some shit? Like, so he's suggested to me a few mixing engineers, this one, that one, that one. Then he's like, yeah, David Kim would be perfect. It'll cost a bit, you know what I mean? Like 3-time Grammy Award winner. He done the last 4 Nas albums. He done the last Nipsey Hussle one. And he mixes the majority of Hit Boy stuff. You get me? The producer, Hit Boy, rapper as well, sorry, that's my guy. So when I looked at his catalog and the albums that he's mixed, is a no-brainer, bro. Because then the word in the mission statement, the greatest British rap album of all time, rap, is popping out to me now because he understands how to mix and deliver rap that comes from the spirit and the energy and the perspective that man's coming from. Do you get what I'm trying to say? If you Nipsey Hussle, no, yeah, what I'm trying to say? So I'm like, yeah, that's the one. I don't know how it's gonna work. He might turn around to me and say a mad fee. That's like, I'm looking at my pocket and I'm like, oh shit, that's not in there. Do you get what I'm trying to say? But brother, I've hit him. You know what I mean? And he's just like, I told him about what I'm doing, etc., etc. And he's like, he's down. He's like, bro, this is, boom, boom, boom. Started telling me about his, his own story and yeah, this is what we were doing with Nas and in terms of this. I forgot the guy's name that he's got talking on one of the King's diseases, like what you're doing with Marvin, etc., etc. And he's like, we'll work out the P, man. We'll work it out. Do you know what I mean?
Into the vision. You understand?
Yeah. And then when we talk about words like serendipity, which I learned the other day from my guy Nathan Tetty, I love the word serendipity. My producer Rayo shows me a DM conversation with David Kim, a year prior to man reaching out to him, without knowing this, of him going, yeah, I'm working on the Avelino album, we're gonna come to you for the mixes. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And he's like, yeah, cool, no doubt, boom, whatever. And then a year later, man's gone to reach him, boom, boom, boom. And then the man showed me that after. I'm like, bum, clock. You know what I mean?
The line in it was mapped out, isn't it?
It is mapped out, so David Kim mixed it, wicked process, literally went over there to do it in LA, yeah, bro. It has to be done. It had to be done, bro.
Bro, it's gonna sound, this again, not controversial, because I would struggle to believe that an artist who's on a major label, who isn't deemed as a priority, can actually have this type of feeling and vibe and connection to his art and his product. Yeah. I don't think it exists. Mm-hmm. Maybe it does with like the super artists and they just say, okay, you just do what you want. Yeah. But where you were at the previous situation, not saying they wouldn't allow you to do what you need to do, but I think how you're breaking it down, like, bro, I sit down with people like, yo, they don't care about mixing and mastering. Yeah. The mixing in this country is actually pretty poor, like, I'll be honest, right? And even like having an executive producer, people don't understand what an executive producer does. It's like, we're just almost like just doing playlists and shuffles, handing it in and just seeing what the views can be. It's so refreshing to hear how you actually are viewing and approaching this music. And I wonder, like, is that almost part of the blessing of you now being like on a, to a distro and you can allow yourself to be this level of artist?
Yeah, because like I was at RCA Sony and I don't have any bad words to say about them. They were fine. You know what I mean? I kind of, had to get to where I am as a to be able to execute this whole thing and to see straight, to be able to even, like I said, to be able to execute this whole thing. So, but yeah, I think being independent definitely suits it. Like, you just got your dough and you do what you got to do. It's not about getting permissions or something cleared or this engineer cost this much and it's a problem or this or that, boom, 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 boom.
You know what the budgets are, you know what within the means.
Yeah, and you just make the decision and it's on you, which is hence why the rewards are more. You get me? Like, it's hard to see why artists in our thing need a label. I get it, sometimes upfront paycheck cool can be attractive, very rare, but it's like,
you ain't seen the back end, bro.
You ain't seen the back, it's like, brother, fuck all of them, bro. Like, I respect, there's great people at labels, etc., but my nigga, we don't need you, bro. You know what I mean?
And I think the other part I look at is the way the system is designed, and it's just, look, I don't know how our business model is, but the way it's designed is, if you sign a 5-album deal, most artists, their peak is going to be the first 2 or 3. Yeah. And then after that, they're probably going to just get rid of you because you've rinsed out. But those master recordings, they'll forever profit.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll never see anything from it.
Yeah, exactly.
And they wouldn't be seeing the music to the level that you're seeing it, but it's like, we just own it. So I think it's refreshing that you're able to make this type of project under your own
this is when I got to this point. By God's grace, you get what I'm trying to say, so. Yeah, man. I don't have a bad word to say about them. Actually, they were good. They were cool. Yeah, they were cool.
I mean, and I had that feeling like, and I've always looked at bro, like, you're an artist where I think people can, because you've had hit records, bro. Like, you've had songs that are performed well. Yeah, they were good. Yeah. So it's like, But it's more so like, I think, like I was saying, you're just one of those few artists where they don't make many of you, and having teams and people to, like, it's difficult.
And at the same time, you got to figure it out yourself. You know what I mean? I think because artists will complain about how they were A&R'd and boom, 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 but everyone needs to serve your vision. It needs to be based off. If you haven't figured yourself out, man can't be too heartbroken by someone else not figuring it out for you. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. These people should be able to help mold and guide your thing that you understand and feel. Do you get me? So it's like, yeah, so Rich 32 doesn't say to me, or Fraser, whoever doesn't say to me, yeah, album should be called God Save the Streets. They might do, but for the most part, the mission statement and the title comes from man's mind. And then these great people around the thing can help bring it to, bring it to life. And I'm like, the reason why I decided I definitely got to get help, and we talk about labels, maybe look at the greatest pop artist of all time, which is Michael Jackson. And he wants to do, he got a mission and a vision, what he wants to achieve and what he wants to do for this particular album, Off the Wall. And he says, I need to work with Quincy Jones. The label says, no, you should work with, I forgot who it was, someone else. But because of his vision, he knows it's Quincy Jones. Yeah. But that comes from him. But then now, I bet you, if he goes to the one that the label picked, because he doesn't have the vision and it doesn't go the way he planned it to, he's going to blame the label. But really, maybe you wasn't so focused and didn't understand yourself and what you was trying to actually achieve specifically, so that you missed out on the fact that you had to go to Quincy Jones.
But let me talk about, so, what, okay, so, it's quite hard because you've never not had a song to me that isn't profound. And I think that's what, I just wonder, like, bro, just the expenditure of energy. You know, I always think about, there is what we hear, but then, because there's a motive, because it comes from within, there must be a lot that is just going through your mind on a daily basis. And these are snapshots. So I'm thinking like, without this release, then, like, what, like, okay, so like, naturally, what is going through your mind? Like, what is the current things that you're processing now that we're not even getting in musical form?
What am I processing? I'm processing. That's a good question. Right now, I'm very interested in hardship and the way different people deal with it. People's stories, pain, people's behaviors, body language. Do you get me? And, you know, but even before that, I'd say what runs through my mind for the most part is man's dreams, ideas. I'm just here to create, bro. No. Dreams to be greatest British rapper of all time. Dreams to be, you know, the hugest, you know, writer, motivational speaker on the planet. Dreams to, you know, run businesses that, you know, affect culture and not just make money. You know, yeah, bro.
How does one, you know, I had it on my stories. I was having these thoughts, and I said to myself, are the dreams, if they're not realized, what are we comfortable with our current life if they're not realized?
Look,
because ambition's unrelenting at that point, right?
Look, at the end of the day, it's about, the dreams is one thing, but it's about your purpose. You know what I mean? Your major purposes, you know what I mean? And if my major purpose is to sort of share this way of thinking with as many people as possible, I can never fail. You know what I mean? What way of thinking am I talking about? I'm talking about, you know, the fact that, when we're talking about God Save the Streets, I'm talking about the fact that the struggle's not a bad thing. As the connotations behind the word struggle are negative. But I'm like, okay, cool. I said it in my daily duppy, there's not a challenge that doesn't come without a potential blessing. I mean, that's a bar that I said. And the reason I say potential is because it's not always glaringly obvious, you get me? Willpower, imagination, time, and I mean, nothing that you don't accept as a failure is a failure. Struggle, we see it as a bad thing, but it doesn't have to be. Maybe you're lucky and advantageous that you've grown up in poverty and hardship, in, you know what I mean, adversity, etc., because maybe now, without that, you wouldn't be so strong, you wouldn't be so strong-minded, you wouldn't be so creative, you wouldn't be so resourceful, you wouldn't have all the character you have, you wouldn't have all the, you get what I'm trying to say? You get what I'm trying to, you see what happens? Yeah.
Hardly ever highlighted that this can actually help bring
And
out
all
this.
that is just the way you relate yourself to it. You know what I mean? So if I'm like, man's purpose is to use man's fucking skills and art and whatever medium to get that way of thinking out there to as many people as possible, I can never fail. I could just keep doing. You know what I mean? Because we talk about success. What is success? What is success? What is success? People look at success as it's like, I heard a man say it's the progressive realization of an ideal. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So when it's so the fact that it's progressive means the success is every day, bro. You know what I mean? Man woke up, man had my kappa, my Chinese, you know what I mean? Ceramic. You get what I'm trying to say? Man went for a run. Man thought of ideas and spoke about them with my mates. I've got an album dropping. You know what I mean? I'm in the restaurant, the family business, etc. Everyday success. There's no fail, bro. So the thing about L's or failures, for example, in regards to what you asked me, no one is qualified, yeah, to class something a failure or deem something a failure other than you. It's not even a failure until you accept it as such. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because if Anthony Joshua gets knocked out by Andy Ruiz and quits boxing, it's a very different conversation than the one that we saw where he gets knocked out by my man, and then he says, cool, I know why I went wrong, rematch, moves to him. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, we need to know the difference between temporary setbacks, or temporary, you know what I mean, and actual L's. So in terms of man's dreams, I could never fail because I'm constantly moving, bro. Because when I reach a certain thing, I'm just gonna set a new goal. That's how, like, you gotta keep on, keep moving, bro. You know what I mean? Never retire in my life. You know what I mean? You can't, like, in fucking, maybe Japan or Oklahoma, they don't even have a word for retire, bro. You know what I mean? And then funny enough, they got the most people in the world that live past 100. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, bro, they don't retire, bro. You know what I mean? Or like, just notice what happens to, and just notice what happens to someone that, you know, makes their way through life, gets a success or a fortune or whatever, and then gives up the struggle of new challenges, of new boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? Just notice what happens to them, bro. You know what I mean?
But I want to leave it there, bro, because I've taken up bare time. But you know what it is? I think it's always great speaking to you, and I think the key thing to me is like actually just seeing this divine purpose and intervention that you've manifested. That now it's like, now that we're here, release, was it this Friday?
Yeah, sick. Yeah, Friday.
And now you can scale back and like, even with this interview now, I'm seeing how everything's kind of like joined together.
It's like, it feels like it's joined, you know what I mean? Yeah. And look, like, for anyone watching, it's like, return to the targets and the goals here and there every so often, but really, for the most part, detach yourself from the result, G. Because it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you did what you had to do. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because otherwise, if you don't, then peace of mind ain't your friend, my G. Because you're just going to look back. The pain of regret, there's another one I see, is way madder than the pain of, you know, discipline. Doing what you got. You know what I mean? So you detach from the result shit. That's when autopilot just does its thing. You know what I mean? You think when the pilot sets the thing to autopilot, the plane's thinking, oh, I got to get there, No, it's just, that's it. It sets the destination, boom, boom, boom. And then it's just go. Set the goal, and this is what I want, bam, 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 and set it, pray on that shit, fast on that shit, talk about that shit with your brethren, pace up and down your yard every day in the morning, grab ideas, boom, boom. But when you're, for the most part, let autopilot just take you to where you're supposed to go. And if you want it enough, you probably will get to exactly where the fuck you want to go. And not in the way you expected. It might come from some other, do you get what I'm trying to say? So, you know what I mean? Maybe I'm talking out loud to myself even, just there, you get me? So, you know, I got to remind myself that no one's perfect, bro. I mean, I've never done anything perfectly. There's one thing I've done perfectly, actually, is just know how to have peace of mind. Perfect. Other than that, I've never done anything perfectly, you know what I mean? You know, it was a pleasure to work with the unreal, bro, there's a time when I was in my yard as a kid just writing bars, and now I'm just working with all these internationally unreal people. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, you know, so, bro, the success is now, you know what I mean? And it's only more success that follows, even when I'm sitting with you doing an interview, bro, you know what I mean? It's, yeah, bro. In our restaurant, you know what I mean?
Yeah, boy, it's amazing here.
You feel me, bro? So yeah, nah, bro, it's a pleasure. God Save the Streets. Buy the album. You know what I mean? We've hella stuff we do in the house. We're hella freestyles on this daily Dappy Friday. This one, $9.99 iTunes. Support the thing.